Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you for watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget to go find us on the Instagram and Twitter, and please check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Today, we're going to be talking about a good variety of movies. I'm excited. There's a lot happening.
Not really. It's a short.
No, there's a lot with this happening.
Oh.
And we went to the theater, so we got some theater stories to share because OMG, something weird was happening with this one little family. And yeah, so there you go. Right now, take a moment, go share. I see right now we're live. I got to go share and tell all my friends.
Sorry.
So how do I share this puppy? There should be a share button.
Yeah, I was ill prepared. I was ill prepared for the share.
Me too.
Last week I had it all nice and tight.
Oh my gosh, guys, post.
I was starting at the beginning of the show.
Come on, be calm. Everybody, lie down. You're going to knock down some cameras. Move it, buddy. Move your butt. They're about to move. They're about to knock some stuff down. All right. Let's talk about some movies.
All right, so we don't have a ton today.
This is already bad. Already bad things are happening.
You get to hear that.
This is not okay. This is not the way to start a show, people. Can we separate them?
You're going to have to see if you can.
Hey, somebody tried to bite me. Lord.
Sorry. They have decided that last week they did this at the end of the show, and that was a good thing. Now they decide to do it right now.
This is not cool. We're trying to have a show.
All right.
Sit down. All right. Where do we want to start today? There's a good variety of things to talk about.
We only have 3 movies technically.
We have 4.
Oh, that's right. We have 4
5.
technically, and then of course a retrospect again because we saw another sequel. But let's talk about the classic one first because she didn't watch one of them because she wasn't very impressed because clearly she now thinks she's too good for classic old school movies. So Paramount, we talked about these before, where Paramount puts out these Paramount Presents films that are part of this collection where they're re-releasing classic films, and then the boxes are usually like new artwork in the front, but then it opens up and shows the old school poster. Mm-hmm. They put out Airplane this way, Fatal Attraction, and I don't remember what else, a bunch of other stuff. So they've also been re-releasing a lot of Eddie Murphy films lately.
Yeah.
They did like a 4K and regular ones, and then like Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America and things like this. It's when we had this awesome sexual chocolate poster. But the latest one was the 48 Hours franchise, if you will, of 2 movies. It's 48 Hours and another 48 Hours, which teamed Eddie Murphy up with Nick Nolte.
Let me fix my pillows.
For the technically the genre of the buddy cop film, even though they're not really buddies. They're both directed by Walter Hill. If you don't know who Walter Hill is, he did The Warriors. He did these movies, obviously. He did Bullet to the Head with Sylvester Stallone. He's done a ton of different.
That's my Bullet to the Head.
He's done a ton of different great movies.
That's all I had.
So this one, the first 48 Hours was technically Eddie Murphy's big screen debut.
Yes.
And I believe he even got a Golden Globe nomination for it.
It's fancy.
So it's funny if you look at the photos of the posters or whatever. You know, Nick Nolte was the big star when the first one came out, but when the second one came out, which was like 8 years later, Eddie Murphy was the big bankable star at that point. So the names
are flipped, which is interesting.
They're both movies. I love these movies. They're both old school, fairly generic, Lethal Weapon, those kind of movies. It's the banter of Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy that make it stand out. And they are not friends.
Yeah.
So the story is basically Nick Nolte's this hard-edged, basically every 80s movie, he's a hard-edged cop that's kind of a mess in his personal life, but he's a decent cop. He gets stuck in his case. He needs the help of a convict. So the convict, they got 48 hours to solve a crime.
Right.
Second movie is a continuation of that same idea. So
pretty much.
She did not watch the second one because she didn't like the first one as much.
I gave up.
Because she's lame.
To be honest.
She's lame. Doesn't know the good things. But tell me what you didn't like about the first one so I can tell you why you're wrong.
Exactly what you just said. Old school, by the numbers, it was just like, okay, I think to me it felt kind of dated. And if we're looking at that genre, I'd rather go with like Mel Gibson and what's his name? Help me.
I just said the name of that movie 5
Okay, well
seconds
that
ago.
one. I'd rather go that route.
Oh, I'm not going to argue the point that
Because
Lethal Weapon.
the toilet thing, classic.
I'm not going to argue it. The Lethal Weapon movies are iconic, and they're some of my favorite.
Which one came out first? This?
This, I believe.
Okay. I guess I don't know.
But there are a ton of iconic scenes in this movie. The whole scene in the country western bar with Eddie Murphy, those scenes.
He's like, "How y'all doing?"
Yeah, those are all stuff that have been iconic scenes.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm glad I saw it because at least like that joke, I get it now because that's one of the voice or tagline things that you'll do, like a one-liner.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, and then I think the fight on the car, basically, where he's like, "I put my gun down." He's like, "Okay, come on," but. I'm like, it just kind of went on a little too long. It's such a good movie.
It didn't. It's such a great movie.
It went on too long, friends.
I think it's a case of. I think you also probably watched it a day you weren't interested in watching this because I think
might have been tired.
If I remember correctly, you only watched this because I needed to watch it to review it and I wanted to watch it. You were like, okay, whatever, we'll watch it because we'd already decided not to watch it because you were being temperamental about it. And then you're like, just fine, let's watch it. Which already told me you probably weren't going to like it, which is normal for you.
You know, sorry.
I really love the second one more than the first one.
Yeah.
It's kind of grittier, but it's the same thing. I think it's a little more aggressive and a little more action. But it's more the same stuff. But what makes these movies work to stand out of that generic, forgettable mentality is not only Walter Hill's direction and the way he makes a film, but it's Murphy and Nolte and their banter and the fact that there's never a redeeming thing to make them friends.
Yeah.
Like there's a moment in the first one Nolte sticks up for Eddie Murphy when they're calling him convict and stupid, and he's like, he's probably the smartest guy you ever did because he respects him for that moment. But when you go into the second film, it's the same thing, and now Eddie Murphy seems to hate Nick Nolte even more.
Yeah.
And they fight, but now the villains that they're fighting are way more. You would probably like the second one more.
Well, because I also want to know what happened because at the end of the first, he's like, hold my money, I'll be back. So what happened? I guess I have to watch the second one.
The second one actually feels more like Lethal Weapon.
Okay, well then maybe I need to watch that. Maybe too I was tired and I gave up too soon.
And it's also got like one of the villains is a bad guy actor you've seen before. I'd have to show him to you. It's got a lot of the same people that return, but it's connected to the events of the first movie. It's not just hey, they're throwing in the same thing. Well, basically what has happened in the second one though is because at the end of the first one. There's, Eddie Murphy has to go back to jail because he's only on a furlough for this thing.
To help
a money
out.
Situation. So you're expecting the second when he gets out, he gets his money.
Yeah.
I think Nolte wasn't as trustworthy with the money.
Okay, well, that's what I need to find out. So I'm going to have to watch
Also, Eddie Murphy, his character, has been in jail this entire time for these 8 years, even though he was supposed to get out in like 30 days or something. Because he got accused of something else while in jail, so he got more time.
Uh-oh.
So when he gets out, in the next movie, in another 48 hours, he's no longer an actual convict. He's actually out of jail.
I see.
So now he doesn't have to listen as much and do so. But there's a great moment that I always thought was in the first movie, but it's actually in the second one, where they have a remimic version of that country western bar sequence.
Oh, okay.
They're in another club again.
Okay.
And there's a moment where they're fighting, and Eddie Murphy's got a gun. He's like, "I'm going to shoot you." I don't think it's in the first one. I think it's in the second one. Where when the guy talks trash to him, like, you ain't going to shoot nobody. When Eddie Murphy shoots him, but when he shoots him, he shoots him in the foot. But he's shooting, he's like, I'm going to shoot you. And this thing goes, no, you're not. He goes, he shoots him. It's just his classic way he does it. Anyway, I love these movies. They hold up well.
I'm sorry I didn't love these movies and I thought it was old feeling.
Visually, yes, it's dated. I mean, it's the early 80s. It's not 1980, whatever year it was. And they're wearing the old clothes and knitted sweater tank tops or whatever. And
that was the best. He's like, "Can you make me one of these knitted sweater tank tops?" I'm like, "What?"
James Remar is the villain in the first movie.
Oh my gosh!
And he has this
that
tank
was the
top
funniest
that
part.
It looks like somebody knitted it.
Yeah, it was a knit cable.
So
knit
hopefully
sweater.
she can. I'm gonna be him for Halloween. Knit me a tank top, and I'll give me like a 357. I'll just run around in bell bottoms and.
That will be your Halloween costume.
Yeah, nobody will have any idea who I'm supposed to be, but
you
I'll
need
yell
to have
a lot.
a name tag.
I'll yell a lot, and I'll carry a bag of money with me. Anyway, 48 Hours, another 48 Hours under Paramount Presents branding is out now, so you check them out. If you've never seen them, they're must-haves. If you're an Eddie Murphy fan, they're must-haves. If you just like action, comedy, buddy cop stuff.
And if not, that's okay. You can be with me in the.
If you stick with her on these kind of things, you'll never watch anything good. You'll watch G.I. Jane over and over, and you'll be lame.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
What do you do when your head itches and you're wearing a hat? How do guys wear
You
hats
take your
all
hat
the
off,
time?
you scratch your head, and you put your
It's
hat
weird.
back on.
I know, but you can't just take it off because they got a ponytail holding it down.
Yeah, we don't wear a hat with our ponytail sticking out because we ain't from the country.
Well, whatever. Next, what
In
are you
your
eating?
case, I mean, Oreo.
You do not need to be eating that. Do you know how much sugar is in that?
I'm about to find out when I put it in
Your
my
family's
mouth.
got the beaties. You need to be
Okay.
careful. But then again, if you go into some sort of a diabetic coma, all this is mine. Fire sale. Give me the cashish. All right. What
Look at
movie
that.
are we going to? Oh, my
Look
God.
at that.
That is so gross.
Look at that. These are the Oreo, not double stuff. These are the most stuff.
Do they have these with the lemon?
This is not.
Because those I like.
I've
the
never
lemon.
seen these except for the. I don't look at.
Oh.
I don't buy big packages of cookies. I
'Cause
just see
I don't
these.
like chocolate
I just see
cookies.
these at the gas station. I'm not a big fan of the chocolate Oreo. I
Yeah,
like
I
the
don't like
golden
chocolate.
Oreos.
Which one's your favorite? That's what I'm saying. But I like
They're
also,
not a sponsor, but I really do like these big.
Oops,
double
hang on.
stuff. Look at
The
this.
golden
This is the
with
most
the
stuff.
lemon.
This is the most stuff, and it is. The
What's
stuff.
your favorite Oreo, gang?
Look at that. Here's what's always happens with these packages I buy periodically, and here's how they get you. It's not with the other cookies. It's in a little basket next to the register.
Oh.
So when
It's
you
a
walk up there,
specialty
it's sitting
item.
like that, and you see it all the time. I'm like,
Well, you're
I
like,
must have
well,
one.
I might as well.
but every time I open a package, there's only 4 cookies in here. This big ass package only has 4 cookies. Because it's somewhat, but it's always like this.
You had to put it back
Missing the
together.
top. Well,
No, that's okay because I used to actually throw those away.
well, I know that, but now here's the
Because
thing.
I just want the filling.
But here's the thing: is I'm not a big fan of this part. I do like this part,
I
like
agree.
most everybody else. So, most people twist and pull and all that kind of crap. This is the perfect Oreo for someone who prefers the cream than the cookie,
Mhm.
because being more cream,
Yeah.
it balances out the chocolate.
Mm.
It's not as.
I like the yellow cookies.
Oh, I do too. I'm talking about just eating this one, right? It balances out the two.
My sons are my favorite Oreo since one of our people.
That is a racist joke, but it's hilarious. But do you eat your sons?
Ew, cannibal.
Anyway, what's next?
All right, next movie. Where do we want to go, babe? There's so many ways to go. You want to talk about this? You want to
What
talk
is
about that? Part 2.
Oh, you have 2 of them over there.
Yeah, because we're gonna recap in case you missed it. So you want to talk about that?
Why don't you recap on me, Mario? We'll do
Okay.
that.
Let's go here. So last week on Netflix, we got a new horror trilogy coming out. It's harking us back to the old days of horror and slasher films, and I'm in anything slasher, blood and guts.
What's old school horrors? Is that like ones that have like really hairy?
Horse or horse? What did you say?
You said you keep saying they were harkening back to old horrors.
Horror.
Oh,
Horror. HORRR.
oh, we're talking about like the Hairy Town
Wow.
back in the day.
No. So basically, we have a 3-part trilogy on Netflix. Last week was the first part 1 of Fear Street 1994. Would we say it's kind of the
1994.
yeah
You just said
1994?
84.
1994.
I don't know what you did about that.
It's kind of like the young adult version of Scream, I guess, is what we would kind
But
of.
made it. But yeah, but they took they're young adult all books by R.L. Stein.
If you can imagine R.L. Stein, but the slasher version
but
of
the
R.L.
books
Stein.
that he made were actually young adult.
They
books.
were young
the
adult
movies
books.
are rated R movies.
Correct. So
Yeah.
they're slashery. So 1994 shows us these kids in 1994, and I was jamming into this whole movie because I loved every single song in it. 1994 is when I graduated high school, my friends, a long, long time ago. And basically,
you want to hear what we thought about that film? Jump in last week's show. We talked
Yes,
all
check
about
it.
it in detail.
basically these kids are in a town that they believed is cursed by a witch, and that's why killers are showing up. That's all you need to know about that. So then this week's release was part 2 of Fear Street, 1978. So the
But
events.
how can it be 78? Because that's going backwards.
Well, the events of 94 lead us to find out someone survived in 1978. How did they do it?
Dun,
Ring,
dun, dun.
ring. How did you survive? The lady's like, there's no surviving. Everyone's going to die. That's where we're at, basically. So 78, we go back. And this back.
Go back.
We go back. And this is one of my favorite ones so far. I like 94, but I like
Is it
this.
because they're at the summer camp?
Because it's a summer camp slasher movie, which is classic.
Yes, which is pretty much the rule of most slashers back in the day was you had to be at a summer camp.
Well, and also you do
got
drugs.
Sleepaway Camp, you got Friday the 13th,
And then our rules come back. You do drugs, you die. You have sex, you die. So yes, I love all these.
I will say it's interesting because after the first one, they show a trailer for the second one.
Yeah.
And even though they're features, they're like 2-hour movies, they play up like a TV series, that continuation. So I assumed with this next chapter that it was going to be kind of like, we'd know it was connected, but it was going to be more of its own movie.
Yes.
But it picks up, it does a recap, just like a TV series, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then it plays directly from the events at the end of the first movie.
Go straight. Like we continue our story.
And it sets up a really good little connection vignette story part of it that's new footage shot, not just a
recap
montage kind of thing.
It's new footage to connect the two.
Then
I didn't do the montage because it
okay.
didn't work.
But then it pans into
the lady starts. Well, it was 1978.
And then once we get there, then you're in this new movie.
Yes.
It has no connection to the other movie outside of the events and the characters that potential and some younger versions of. You've seen their older versions and the other kind of thing.
And I loved the music in this one even more. I'm all into 70s classic rock too. I loved every song. So, and I like that we were in the 70s, and I like they got the feeling of the 70s, not just the clothing and stuff, but also like the dialogue with some of the way they talk and some of their catchphrases and things they would say like back in that time period. So I like that we did a little research. What?
It took me a minute, but I figured out what he said.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
We'll mention what he said in a few minutes.
So I just liked the whole vibe of it. And I like that we went with the whole, we're in the 70s. We don't understand how these serial killer things work. Because in the 90s, they're a little bit more aware of, oh my gosh, this is what happens. You got to watch out. And in the 70s, they didn't know. And they're trying to unravel a mystery. So they're
what's interesting is they
continuing that whole
the
are we
slasher thing
cursed
kind
or
of
not?
starts happening, but that's not really what the tone of the movie is even trying to talk about. Is it's something else completely in connection with what's in the first movie, and then kind of unsurprisingly, or kind of surprisingly, but not surprisingly either, it has a whole secondary element that's going on that's a slasher, which is kind of what happened in the first movies. You have a slasher thing going on, the supernatural aspect of it, and then some other stuff popping in that don't all connect, but then they do.
And then there was one thing about this killer, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what we were told in the first movie, but then they did it, and I was like, okay, we're there now. Thank you.
It's a fun series, and it's one that I would hope. It seems to be doing really well, and I hope it does well enough that Netflix dives back in, and especially if the next one works as good as well. That's going to be the tricky one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if it works well,
I think it'd
be fun to see if Netflix dives back into Fear Street again and do another. Make them maybe almost like do it like a season series. Is this these 3? Then next time the season comes around, it's another 3, and it's they can still do part 1, part 2, part 3 again. And
I'm
have to be 4, 5, and 6.
Once we get to the end of this, I'm going to go research like the whole R.L. Stine connection because
he's the writer. That's the connection.
I know, but I want to read the books and see like what did they take and how did they expand it.
From what I understand,
because
most of this does not come directly from the book.
Okay.
I think
just maybe the idea.
I think there may be some elements, but I think it's mostly their own stories. I could be wrong. That's what I was thinking I read. Hopefully, this will spin into them doing the R.L. Stine Garbage Pail Kid book cartoon. Although I did hear that
is there not a Garbage Pail movie?
There is a live-action Garbage Pail Kids movie. Have you never seen it?
I don't think I have.
Oh, you are in for a treat.
I don't like garbage pails.
And then you're not going to love this movie.
Is it gooey?
Like most people didn't. So this movie is not good.
Is it like gooey because
it's just not a good movie.
All the Garbage Pail Kids have like snot and poop
so
and things.
Okay, you talk.
We've digressed.
I'm going to show you something while you're talking.
Okay. Anywho, I think most of us know Goosebumps. Is what I think about when I think of R.L. Stine. I wasn't thinking that this, out of someone's imagination here, would take an R.L. Stine Little Fear Street section, and now suddenly we have these amazing slasher movies. But I like it. There is blood and guts, which I love and adore, and I hope you like it too. You should check out Fear Street. Part 1 and Part 2 are available now on Netflix. Next week, we are looking for final Part 3, which is Fear Street Part 3, 1666.
Yes.
And it has to deal with some witch trials. So I am all in. I love that stuff. It's fascinating to me that people were that stupid. Because first of all, if she was a witch, you're in trouble. And second of all, if she wasn't, shut up. Leave the poor woman alone. But that was men trying to hold women down. We don't do that.
Sure.
Women's rights. Okay, that's all I have. Did you digress into Garbage Pail now?
Yeah, I was trying to find a picture. I mean, that's them from the movie.
Oh my. Oh, they do look kind of gooey and weird looking. That's okay.
Shout Factory
Shout.
did release a special edition of it, so we'll watch it.
Oh my. Okay.
All right, so let me talk about this other movie before we get into the big one of the week.
Okay, let me get here.
This other one's one I was actually really excited to watch. It's called Silat Warriors: Deed of Death. Okay, and if you don't know what Pencak Silat is, it's essentially it's Indonesian and it's a martial arts, obviously, but it's the same thing that was done a lot in the Raid.
Yes.
So you already have a high standard to set from,
Mm-hmm.
and this movie does not meet said standard.
Oh no.
So here's the problem with it. I haven't written
Who's this main guy?
I have no idea who these people are.
Okay, he wasn't in
I have
anything
not
I've
watched.
seen.
I have not written my actual review yet, so it'll get put up because I'm behind. The movie's kind of a mashup of a martial arts flick meets Fast and the Furious meets rice fields
Oh,
and
okay. You're at a loss for words. It's so
I think
amazing.
of another word. Housing developments. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
So the premise is this family that lives, in these little rice field kind of place. It might not even be rice. I don't remember what kind of field. So it's a kind of farmy kind of thing. And they have one son who's a good son that's always there helping them. Then there's another son who's always hanging out with the bad kids and the bad people. And he gambles away the deed of the house.
Oh,
so deed of death is the deed of the family's home.
Oh,
so they come to collect.
Too bad.
But he's not there. They're telling him, well, you're going to have to do it anyway. So they give him time. So anyway, on the flip side, all of a sudden, he's hanging out with all these street racers. And they're like, it's like a very poor man's Fast and the Furious. Because all their things are like Toyota Corollas and little bip-bip cars that are souped up. None of them are like fancy. In first Fast and Furious had the little nerdy guy had that white car.
Yes.
That was kind of the least Fast and Furious car of them all.
Yes.
It's the one that Malcolm in the Middle bought for the real guy owns it.
Yes.
Imagine like a bunch of those, and that's all their cars they have.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a lot of these races and all this stuff, and I'm watching this going.
Are they racing for the houses?
No, it's this guy. Well,
or?
they start to, but then this guy gets in a fight because they're racing for a car, and then the other guy doesn't give him his car. Then they race, and this guy is trying to save the house, but then he keeps gambling away more money because he keeps making stupid decisions. But it's just like
this movie would infuriate me. Then
it was because it was like not only that, but every race was just bad. It just wasn't overly exciting. It was like watching people that didn't have money race their cars.
That'd be me.
I'm talking about not money to race, money to buy a car. Let me see if I can.
Let me race my little Fiat.
Yeah,
see how it goes.
Like their cars were souped up. Like I'm sure they had good motors and all that kind of stuff. It didn't give you that vibe of.
What is the movie? Where was it made? And was it?
I believe it's in Indonesia. I think it's in Indonesia. It's subtitled.
Production.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, maybe that's a big deal there. Maybe that's amazing there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not meaning it as like a complete insult to them. It's just,
but after we just saw Fast and Furious last week,
but when I walk into a movie
not.
that I think is going to be a martial arts flick, and I haven't got the martial arts part yet, but then the majority of the movie are these little. I'm trying to see if I can find a good image of them. Are these little? They want to be Fast and Furious
Malay.
very badly, huh?
It's Malay.
Is it Malaysia?
Yeah.
Okay. They want to be Fast and Furious so bad.
Yeah.
With their tone.
That's too bad.
They had all the makings to be a good action flick. Even with
the fighting good? Forget the car racing.
Yeah.
If it's called Silat,
that's my next
it should
statement.
be fighting.
The fighting isn't bad.
Okay.
The issue with it is every fight seemed choreographed.
Was it boom, boom, boom?
Yes,
boom,
it felt like kind of like the old 70s kung fu flicks, but on a micro budget. So it's like if you take a bunch of people that might not be professional stuntmen, or the choreographer or whoever didn't know the proper way to really sell the punch or to sell the way you, because when you move your body a certain way to hit somebody in real life, it's not the same way you do it on film all the time.
Right,
you got to put them in right angles. And, so like even my dad, he watched this movie.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and we're not having a discussion about it. My dad randomly watches movies on like pay-per-view or whatever. He just finds things and watches them. So I was over at his house on Friday. I was getting ready to leave, and he goes, "Hey, I watched this movie the other day." And I'm like, "Oh, really? What?" Hold on, I gotta sneeze.
You need a tissue?
Excuse me. No.
Okay.
Pardon my COVID.
Oh, Lord.
He goes, "I watched this movie," and I'm like, "Oh, really? What'd you watch?" And he goes, Silat. He goes, "Now I'm trying to remember the name. Silat." I said, "The Silat Warriors Deed of Death?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, that was an adventure, wasn't it?" And he goes, "Didn't make a lot of sense." He goes, "In the fighting, I don't know if they knew what they were doing."
See, and that's the thing. So, for those who may not know, we're martial arts people, and so is your father.
Yeah.
And so that's why I asked specifically about the fighting, because
I can forgive a horrible movie if it's got awesome fighting.
The fighting's awesome. We will watch it, and we'll go watch those scenes over and over
the fighting,
again.
like I said, the fights aren't bad.
If you were a normal person off the street that doesn't know anything about fighting,
you'd still notice. But here's what they actually reminded me of. And again, there were some talented martial artists, people like average martial artists. I don't know if they're real martial artists or I don't know anything about their shoot or their actors, whatever. It felt like most of them were demos you would see at a belt test.
Oh, okay.
With better angles to try to make them look like they really got hit. You know what I mean? So like, and then a lot of like poses and stuff. So there's like this one guy does this whole thing, and then he's like from here, and then the guy jumps. Beautiful. So it's not bad in that element. It's just when you come off of the movies that we get nowadays, but even in comparison to movies like when you watch 5 Element Ninjas. Yeah. Even though that old school stuff is very choreographed. So good though. It's very choreographed. It's very 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
but it moves.
Yeah, it's moving.
And a lot of times there's a long fight.
Yeah.
This is a lot of boom, 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 but not in like had they moved the cameras a little bit, maybe even sped up the film if the actors couldn't move faster. Yeah. It would have been more impressive.
What is the country of origin of actually Pangkat Silat?
I think it's Indonesia.
How do you spell it?
Trying to figure out how to spell it?
Yes.
I think it's Pinkat, I believe.
We'll see what the wiki tells us. No.
Not Pinky Silas.
Pinky Silas.
Just type in Salat. See what comes up.
Oh my gosh, that's what came up. Anyhow, that's interesting. I'm just wondering too. I don't know. First of all, we always applaud anyone for making a movie. I think it's a big deal. I don't know where we are in Malay cinema, like how far advanced.
Indonesia.
It's from Indonesia.
P-E-N-C-A-K. Sorry.
Okay. So don't know where they are at and how evolved their cinema is anyway. But you know what? You made a movie. Good job. And I appreciate that. And I know people worked hard on it.
Here's what's weird though is, and then I just learned something, like in one sentence, I just learned something. Like I said, it's an entertaining movie from that standard. It's one of those that it felt like they tried to push so much stuff in there and nothing really came back.
That's too bad.
You know what I mean? But it says there's over 150 styles of Pangkat Silat recognized in Indonesia.
And it's somewhere in Southeast Asia. Traditionally, it's practiced in Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam.
So many variations. Yeah. It looks like it's from a lot of different martial arts and stuff.
So you know
there's
what?
Some great jump kicks and some great techniques. It just, like I said, it felt choreographed and it kept confused, like they were trying to say, these are successful movies. Let's put it all together.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you know what? There's a lot of, there's that whole industry that makes their money doing that, making like your knockoff.
With the Asylum?
Yes. I wasn't going to go
I don't know if there's still a lot around.
But anymore. Even so, that's what most countries do.
Are you referring to snakes on a train?
Yes.
Transmorphers?
But that's to what other countries do. They see our cinema and then they try to imitate. But you know what? That's okay.
It's vice versa too.
Yes, we do take a lot of stuff.
U.S. does a lot of the TV shows you watch. A lot of the things are remakes from foreign television. Like The Good Doctor is a Korean TV show that was remade.
Which seems I want to watch that.
You've seen the good.
No, the Korean version.
And Daniel Day Kim is the one that brought it here.
Yes, I'm so excited. So, and I'd rather see some original stuff, like a lot of the stuff that's remade from British series. I'd like to watch that too. Anyways, okay, so check it out. Where can I find that?
It's available now on the Blu-ray and DVD from.
And obviously somewhere online on pay-per-view because your dad watched it.
Yeah, and then if you have the streaming service,
That's a
Hiya.
yes,
it's on there too.
It's a Hiya original. So if you do have that subscription service,
is, I believe, Logo USA's streaming service,
which sounds amazing.
It is nothing but martial arts.
That's what I say. All martial arts all the time.
I have not subscribed to this surprisingly, but I'm planning to.
I bet you would, just so you can find all your movies.
Because I'm thinking it probably has a lot of stuff I keep looking for, and that I can't.
I think you should. I think you should. I approve this purchase.
I don't need your approval. I am a grown person.
Wow. All right, next.
Moving on.
Okay, so moving on to probably the big stuff.
What our friend that was watching the show just referred to as African American Widow.
The Black Widow.
So we have not had a Marvel movie in over a year.
Correct. It's been a long, long time.
But we're finally back. Theaters are open thanks to Fast and Furious. Well, technically, Godzilla vs. Kong and a few others had kind of limping along. But Fast and Furious gave us our first huge box office. And Black Widow has done it again. Gave an even bigger box office.
I'm going to assume it was number one.
It was number one. And for the first time ever, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Let's see me do it before we talk about the movie.
Yeah, tell me what.
Disney actually gave their numbers for their premium access as well.
Wow. Are
because so far we've never heard about
I
how Mulan did. We didn't hear about how Cruella did. They didn't tell us about anything. But bet your ass they told you about how Black Widow did. So Black Widow hit the theaters and early access, Disney Plus. You pay an extra $30 if you want to watch there. But if you don't want to watch it there, then you can just wait until it comes on Blu-ray, or it'll eventually jump on Disney Plus.
It'll pop onto Disney Plus
later on. I know that's not a good way to sell it, but
just go watch it in the theater.
So it opened with an estimated $80 million, which, while it doesn't seem like a lot of money for a Marvel movie, the preview screenings, I think it was like the Thursday night screenings, I think, said it made $13 million, which is on par with some of the previous Marvel movies.
For that Thursday midnight or whatever?
Yeah. So, well, no, because...
Did they start
No, they now call them preview screenings where they just open after like 5 or 6 o'clock on Thursday.
Like
so that's why we didn't go Thursday, because it was like at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
There was one at like 7.
Too early for us.
Something.
I'm used to them at midnight, which is because I can make it by then. We're busy on Thursday.
It's also made $78 million international, so it's already hit $158 million. So the box office is bumped up. The streaming service also said for the $30 premiere access, it generated more than $60 million from the platform, which means it's now got a global opening of $215 million in its first weekend.
So we're back.
So it's back, but it made almost the same amount streaming as it did at the theater.
Okay.
Which is ironic since you hear so many people bitching about paying $30.
Yeah, but they will.
When it's a Marvel movie, people are going to pay.
Yeah, well, and I was looking, someone had posted online, like, man, I hadn't bought tickets, forgot how expensive it was. So it was like $25 for 2 people. Then you add popcorn, drinks, or snack. You're spending about the same.
If you really want to think about it, you can think about the time you have to leave to go somewhere, spend money on gas. You got to put your dog in a kennel. If you got to find a babysitter.
That's us.
I'm just saying, anything in life that varies what you have to do.
So I think the $30 at home is a really good value, honestly. Because you could have 10 people over. And
I can already tell you what I'd planned to do. Well, I was trying to con my dad into buying it so we would go ahead and have it and I could watch it again. But because I've seen it twice already, but because I had a press screening. But I also was like, if it didn't get the good box office opening, I was fully intending to buy it.
Yes, just to help. We try to do
because
that too.
We bought Mulan. We bought
Cruella, didn't we?
No, we saw Cruella the Streets. We bought another one. What was it?
I don't know.
We bought like 3 or 4 different movies. But we bought more than that. But for the premium access stuff. So anyway, with Black Widow, that marks the first Marvel movie we've had in, good Lord, I don't know how long. But it puts it with its domestic opening, right between Ant-Man and the Wasp and Doctor Strange. So it's not bad. Era and still opening.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Other Marvel movies is pretty.
And we've been waiting for over a year for this dang movie.
Yeah, because in one of the articles I was reading, it says if set right between these which both opened under better circumstances. So that says a lot that people are ready to get back to the Marvel world. So it's technically back. Marvel's in the house. So we're going to talk about the history of Black Widow's character, the character itself, and then we'll dive into Black Widow.
Okay.
So we decided to, for the first time ever, instead of watching every movie in a franchise, because that's the thing we like to do, we love marathons.
Love it.
Even if it's a marathon, we know we don't need to watch certain movies. Like, say, for like when Halloween comes out. When Halloween Kills
comes out. I want to watch all of them.
We'll watch all 35 Halloween movies.
You only need the last one, probably.
You only need the first one and the last one for this story.
Who cares?
We'll watch all 35 Halloween movies. Which, mind you, Shout Factory is releasing the first 5 films on 4K.
Oh, wow.
But they're not sending them to me, so they're lucky I plugged them.
We'll buy it.
Anyway, so we decided to do a Black Widow only marathon. Just watch her arc, if you will. And so we dived in. That consists of 5 movies, which you've now thrown up on the screen.
I have. And shout out to Disney Plus.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, because you go to the Marvel section, and there at the top, it's like Black Widow series. And like it has all the movies in order ready for you to watch. And
they changed the movie posters. I think it changed back.
It did change back. Like the night before it opened.
Yeah, they had nothing but Black Widow posters.
Like these.
Yeah, but they were
the little images.
Yeah, they were red and white backgrounds that looked like the new movie release. But all the images were the Black Widow, the way she looked from that movie.
Yeah, so all kind of these images, but with the new Black Widow coloring.
Which I hope they do this with all of them. I know not all of them are going to be like this, but you know.
It made it easy for us. When the next Spider-Man
movie comes out, it'd be interesting to see how they throw them in Doctor Strange. And
I'm excited.
Guardians of the Galaxy will probably be a similar thing because I believe they're going to show up in. I think they show up in the Thor: Love and Thunder because remember he left with them.
Yeah.
In Endgame, so I'm assuming they'll probably be that, or vice versa in Guardians 3. So we'll see. Anyway, so all of the story arc of Black Widow started back in Iron Man 2. The least favorite of some of the Marvel people movies. She was kind of a backup character that kind of showed up.
Yeah. She was the assistant.
Yeah, like all the people that were fans of the character, like myself, I'm not a fan of the character, but know the character. I knew who she was as soon as she walked in.
I had no idea.
People like you.
All I know is I didn't like her curly hair in this poster.
And that's probably the most Black Widow hair of the entire franchise. I just didn't
like it.
The new movie has a little better tone to her hair, but Black Widow's always had the red hair and the curls and the long flowing locks. I liked her hair.
I just didn't like her. She's like, don't. And like these big curls.
Oh, it was awesome.
Because it just didn't look natural on her head.
It's supposed to look natural. She fixed her hair. Your head don't look natural.
I guess. Anywho, so that's where we start off. We then find out she's a secret agent man.
She is not a man.
Secret agent.
Yes, we find out through working with Tony Stark that she was actually put there in place because they were trying to build the Avengers Initiative by Nicholas Fury. And that set off the new tone. You get the big reveal of Black Widow at the end of the movie where she run around kicking everyone's ass. And so there was a lot of... That's
my favorite scene in that movie. Is Happy spends his whole time fighting that one guy, and she's like knocked out like 20 guys, and he's like, I got him. He's like, oh.
He beat one. and it was the Rock cousin, Tao.
Yeah, so that was a big fight.
What's funny, too, is I was watching a thing with Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimbo Campbell.
That he was doing an interview with Scarlett Johansson for Black Widow, I believe. And I believe it was the new one. But she was on a screen, so that's why I'm pretty sure it was new. But they played a game. Or no, it was Jimmy Fallon. I apologize.
Okay.
They were playing a game, and they played 1 second of a Marvel movie clip. They had to try to guess they could see what the movie was. I got every one of them.
I'm out. Right? I don't even know the names of all of them.
The first clip they showed, or one of the first clips... Yeah, I think it was the first clip they showed, was Jon Favreau in that scene. And he just turned around and he goes, I got him. And he's all worn out. And I was immediately like,
Iron Man 2.
That's Iron Man 2.
Anyway, so that's her intro. Then we move on to...
So she jumps straight from a quick pick. We got her. She's now part of the universe. She's the only female hero we have
Avenger.
Now. And we jump into the actual Avengers. Yeah, which that brought Joss Whedon into the mix. Which we won't mention a lot of him.
This is the one where they basically destroy New York, right?
That's Chicago.
Well, whatever.
Is it New York? I don't remember.
Where Stark Tower is and the...
Is that New York? Yeah, you're right.
They destroyed New York.
Sorry, I don't know why I said Chicago. New York. But yeah, so... Oh, look at the dog. Look at the picture. Oh, he just wake up. Did you see it? Look.
Yeah, little tail. I know, yeah.
Anyway, sorry about the dog in the front Sabine. Oh, she back.
She's already gone.
Yeah, no, I forgot there's a delay.
There's a delay.
So anyway, so
in case we say a bad word, we could cut it.
Tell us about her in Avengers.
So Avengers, we finally get a little bit more because this is where we're fighting Loki, right?
The aliens.
Kind of. And
Loki's
so
leading an army of aliens.
we get a little bit of backstory. We find out her and Hawkeye know each other from a different mission. They're BFFs. She's here. We see a little bit more of her secret agent, double agent, ability to blend in and hide and whatever, that whole thing. So we get a little bit more of who she is.
Do you want to take a wild guess why we get more Black Widow in that movie?
Why?
Take a wild guess. Why do you think?
Because somebody really liked her?
No, I'm sure that is the case. Who was another new, really prominent character in that movie that we had not seen before and becomes kind of front and center to a lot of things? Maybe not. She's not even an Avenger.
Oh, Hill?
Yes.
Okay.
So you now have two female-led characters that are way more front and center than they probably were before. Why do you think that is?
Why?
Because
Why?
Joss Whedon is behind all of it.
Oh.
His Buffy obsessions. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just...
No, but I'm glad we got it. And I'm glad we got some Agent Hill. I like her.
I do too.
So
He also hated Captain America. That's why Captain America kind of got thrown around on the side.
but he's Captain America.
I know.
Anyway. Okay, so that's what happens there.
Yeah, so
Then
Avengers
moving on.
leads us directly into the next level, which started shifting the tone of the entire Marvel universe. Well, Avengers and stuff was kind of a culmination of, hey, we did it. We brought everybody together. Now let's do the biggest thing that no one's ever seen before. Bring all these big actors together, be the Avengers in the same movie. And everybody's like, what? We did this in X-Men.
No.
But it wasn't these big groups and it wasn't a bunch of movies. That was one movie. So
Correct.
these movies exist because of movies like X-Men and Blade and things like this. But they paved the way. But they did something with that nobody had ever kind of really done before on that scope. That's been done in other things.
Yeah.
But so with Captain America Winter Soldier, this was not only the next chapter in the Captain America trilogy, but it kind of shifted the tone, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Where all the first movies that came along felt like superhero flicks.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier not only dived deeper into Captain America's mythology and
Is it dived or dove?
it dived into his dove in.
Sorry. We had this
I
discussion
think it is
yesterday
dove.
about
Dove in. Well, no.
hanged and hung.
Dove,
It dove deeper.
dive. I'm going to dive into the pool. I dove into the pool. So dove would be the past tense. Dive would be I'm about to do it.
It
now.
dived.
Yeah, I dived in. Did.
Sorry, we go into these.
It jumped in.
We got a little bit deeper in the story.
Yeah, it became more of a spy thriller, gritty. Felt like a mix of Bond and Jason Bourne and superheroes and violence, and
Yeah.
it seemed more serious too than the
Correct.
other
It did. It was because we're dealing now with like personal relationships, not so much like, yeah, superhero, whatever. You got superpower, super soldier, and a cool metal robot arm. But it's actually a very serious movie about these people's relationship.
And it's the first. This is also the movie the Russos were introduced. The directors were introduced into the Marvel Universe. So before this, we had Jon Favreau, who had led the charge with Iron Man 2. I believe was originally supposed to direct Avengers and opted out of doing it, but he was still producing, still playing Happy. He showed back up in Iron Man 3 to play Happy, and obviously we've seen him with Spider-Man and different things. But Joss Whedon took over that group. Joss Whedon did 2 Avengers movies, but after the next one, which we'll talk about from him, they kind of had a falling out with Marvel. The Russos reset the tone, which doesn't really match the tone, in my opinion, to the next Avengers movie. It's almost like that hiccup, and then the tone came back with the next ones.
Because that's one of the things you always say, like Winter Soldier's been your favorite because you like the tone of it.
I still, to this day, will argue
that we're not
anybody
so
in the face.
Superhero-y. We're more, we
Winter-
have a deeper story.
Well, I think the fights are better. I think the story's better. I just think it's a better overall movie. I think it's the best Marvel movie to date still. Nothing has beat it for me yet. And so it's on the precipice.
And it's interesting because when we watched it originally, I just despised this movie so much because
You didn't despise the movie. You despised
I just despised Winter
Bucky, Winter
Soldier
Soldier's
and
character.
that whole thing because in my mind it's like
You didn't
Captain
understand
America
why.
is giving up everything, losing all his friends for this one dude who's a crazy psycho killer.
And now here, all these years later, after
And
Falcon,
now,
Winter Soldier, all
after
this stuff,
watching Falcon Winter Soldier, I'm like, oh, he really was his best friend.
this fool, we're watching it. She's like, she makes comments while she's doing that. She's like, she goes, he's doing that because he would have done that for him, and he was doing this. I'm like, bitch, you were arguing with me.
So
for
now when
years.
we watch Winter Soldier again, I get it. But this time we watched it, not even looking at them. I was looking at Black Widow.
Yeah, I did. It was an interesting
It's
way to
different.
watch
Watch
it.
it
Is
different.
when you know you're focusing on
Yeah.
one character, you pick up on some nuances. And I was actually picking up on some dialogue
Yes.
that I didn't catch previously that all led to
all
Endgame.
to the other movies. And I'm like, oh.
Well, that led, like, there's some stuff with
Yeah.
Tony Stark saying, you know, I think it's in Age of Ultron, where he talks about, you know, we're in the Endgame now, or something like that.
Mhm.
And you're like, oh my God, that's that last
Plot
movie. It's
twist.
little things that just.
Foreshadowing.
And I'm sure there's some way hardcore Marvel people that knew all this long
Sorry,
before me.
we weren't doing that.
I
but-
love comics. I love comics and all that kind of stuff, but I just didn't dive that deep into
Yeah,
something.
but throughout all of these, now you start picking up on things. So watching it this time with the focus on Black Widow and her character, we see now that her BFF's not there. So now you see that she's building this really strong friendship with Captain America.
Yeah.
And
you also get her to build at the same time. Captain America's that Winter Soldier is really, that whole movie is about friendship.
yes,
Even if it sounds silly,
it is.
because it's about Captain America meeting and becoming friends with Falcon, who becomes one of his best friends,
Yeah.
dealing with the fact that his friend that he thought was dead, his real best friend, is here, and not only is he here, he's trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to connect because they are on the run together with him and Black Widow. And so she's kind of finding her place as this is friends and becoming friends with Falcon as well, in a family element. I think this is the family element twist that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Because in Avengers, all of them just fight each other. They
Yeah.
argue. They fight
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
but they argue all the time.
But this movie is important to what happens in the Avengers, them fighting
Yeah.
in Civil War, because that because of the building the friendship and the trust with Natasha and Captain America, and that there's such a strong friendship, even though not a lot of maybe dialogue happens, but then those moments when they're riding in the car alone.
There's even almost a romantic relationship they start to try to build that never happens.
Yeah, but she's just mad. And then she's like, well, what if you called what's her name in accounting? Or what about what's her
It's
name?
two
Wherever.
colleagues working together,
Yeah.
and they become friends.
But here's the thing is that because of her past and her always never trusting anyone, never staying anywhere, never having family, she's so shut down. And when you have Captain America who's like, everybody's great, let's all work together, she takes a part of him and he takes a part of her.
What's funny is,
and it's interesting.
of all the characters in the Marvel Universe, she's the one that stands out on the standpoint of she was kind of the first female big character in this universe. She didn't really get, in my opinion, early on, even though she gets a lot of stuff to do, and she's had 5, now 6 movies, she never really got the full push as a female hero that everybody expected her to get a long time ago. Before Captain Marvel, before Wonder Woman came along, everybody assumed because she was such a prominent part of this, she would be first. But she's also the most broken human being, not woman, human being in this entire universe.
Yeah. But it's interesting that she's accepted it. And so that's kind of why when she's talking to Captain America, like we see it later too, and she's like, dude, and he's like, come on. So that's what I'm saying. He I think helps to heal some of her brokenness.
Yeah, because she's
see
broken,
that what can be.
but she cares the least.
Yeah.
She starts unfolding as from this movie on.
It's
things
layered,
start to
man.
unfold.
There's some layers
Because
to these movies.
after we deal with the Winter Soldier aspect of the story, and then of course there's new cliffhangers and stuff. Then we dive into the next chapter of Avengers, which is
Age of Ultron.
Yes, which kind of brings them all
It's
back.
like I'm remembering.
There you go. It kind of brings them together. You started getting all the secondary characters, War Machine and who else was it? What's another one?
Vision.
Huh?
Vision.
Well, Vision shows up, but I'm talking about. Yeah, well, okay, we'll just do it that way. You start getting some of the secondary
Phil's
characters.
more involved.
Falcon's more involved.
Hill's there more.
Yeah, you start feeling like, okay, these are people that spend time together
Thor
now.
shows up.
You know, well, Thor was in Avengers.
No, but I'm saying he's more now involved in the group, like the group.
Yeah, and you start feeling like a friendship group at that point because, you know, there's one of the best scenes of Age of Ultron to me is that opening sequence where they're all kind of not the action sequence, which is great, but the
we're sitting around hanging out,
hanging out,
it's like just trying to pick up Thor's hammer.
Yeah,
just
that whole
chilling.
stuff is the stuff that makes you say, okay, this part really matters even more before you get to Civil War. Because you see, like, when you get into the Civil War movie and you see, like, the hurt Tony feels about this stuff, you're like, you just watch these guys be really close friends. Mm-hmm. But before that, they fought all the time.
Yeah.
Because in the first Avengers, Tony and Steve clearly did not like each other.
Not at all.
The second movie, they're clearly...
Well, by Winter Soldier, they definitely
They respect each other, they're getting over. And then by Civil War, it turns into...
Winter Soldier is where it's like, mm-mm.
Well, that's Civil War. So Winter Soldier doesn't have.
Oh, which is the one that we find out. Civil War. Okay, sorry. We're Ultron. So in this one is where we start to see the weird development of her and Hulk's kind of relationship.
Yeah, that was weird.
It wasn't weird. I mean, it was interesting because I feel like we had two broken people trying to complete each other.
Well, and I found it clever on the writing point that it wasn't the brokenness that connected them. It was the fact that they were both monsters in their own eyes. You know what I mean? Because she felt, because of,
we get some backstory.
Yeah, because that's when we first find out that she was forcibly
sterilized.
I was going to say euthanized, sterilized. Thank you. She was euthanized and never showed back up again.
Forcibly sterilized.
And it's one of the, I think, one of the best dialogue sequences in that movie because he's like, we can't be together because I'm a monster and this and this. And she's like, well, I'm a monster too because she can't have kids. And that's like this big discussion of what's expected of a woman. Like, you can't be a woman unless you have children, which is such trash.
I didn't push nothing out of my hole.
Well, you're not really a woman now, are you? But that's a big metaphor right there of I'm considered a monster because I can't have a family.
Yeah.
You know?
And he was literally turning into a monster, but they viewed themselves as like equal in that monster level.
Yeah,
and so they were both so
when you find
broken.
yourself as equal to the Hulk as a monster, you got some big issues you're dealing with, whether it's a real issue or a societal issue.
And I thought the other thing that was interesting between the two of them is his anger manifested in the Hulk, and her anger was so internalized that she just broke herself. Like, she would just shut up, but they still had the same anger issues, which you see in this next movie when we get to her.
Well, and then with this movie, it also kind of seemed to shift the tone back to the first Avengers movie. It lost a little bit of the grit. It lost a little bit of the edge that Winter Soldier kind of kicked into it. Not a lot, but it didn't quite. I love the movie. I love every one of the Marvel movies, even with the flaws. But it to me, it started going, don't go backwards, But it's those scenes like this that kept it grounded. But then we dived into when everything completely fell apart. Oh,
is Ultron where we see Hawkeye more and we go see him?
That's when you get no. That's you're talking about like his family and all that stuff. No, that's in Civil War.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So we're sorry.
No, that's not Civil War. That's
I don't think so.
Maybe it is Ultron.
It was Ultron because they had to go on the run. So I like that because we bring our BFF back. We find out they've known each other forever. They know everything pretty much about each other. Yeah, it is because Thor's like, I'm going to go find an answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's that one. Anywho, now we get to Civil War, and this is
Civil
where
War
everything's
is where
all jacked up.
Not only does it play into the broken family, it's saying we're going to shake up the Marvel universe, and they took the actual story arc. The Age of Ultron, mind you, if you don't know this, is an actual storyline in Marvel Comics.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the storyline we got,
right?
But it was
an actual it's maybe the basis for it.
Yeah. Civil War is also a big story arc.
Oh, okay.
And it did, in fact, turn Tony Stark became like a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America went on the run and became a criminal.
Right.
So that part of the story is right. But it starts playing into the political aspects and freedoms. And
so this is where we have the Sokovia Accords.
Yes.
And
it basically is taken everything that's happened before, and here are the results, and here are the ramifications
of destroying New York City.
Of you existing.
Yeah.
And no one, because it's a valid argument.
It is.
okay, well, who avenges the Avengers?
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, and you see the same thing like in Superman and Lex Luthor. Like, who controls this
Lex
alien
Luthor's not
being?
actually a bad guy. He
No,
just doesn't
he
think
just
Superman should have all these powers.
Correct. Like, who's going to police him?
Who's going to protect us from him? If he
And so,
decides
yeah,
to
who
snap?
avenges the Avengers?
Which is the same
so,
way Batman has a problem with Superman. They're best friends, but he's like, I got to have a plan to take all the Justice League out, and they get mad at him for it.
Yeah, but you have to.
But
You
he's
have to
like-
have that backup plan.
Yeah, so
So here it's the team is split on like, do we sign the accords and like essentially bow down to the government, and now they send us on missions, they tell us when to come and go, or should we have the free will to, you know, save people when we want to?
and what I love about where this one goes is on the Black Widow arc, which is, you know, I know we're veering into a lot of the Marvel stuff, but on the
Sorry.
Black Widow
We're trying
arc,
to stay focused.
yeah, the Black Widow arc is smaller this time around because we're dealing with this is essentially another Avengers movie just with a Captain America title and Captain America being center of attention and really introduce Black Panther and some other stuff.
And it's really about Tony and Captain America.
Yeah, and they put her in front and center as kind of the connection to with Shield to the Black Panther and the Wakanda Nation and
she kind of sides with Iron Man, but she's still friends with Captain America.
Yeah,
so
and she's trying to tell them, don't do this, and you can still see because there's a sequence where Steve calls her, and he still trusts her, but he knows he can't actually trust her. But there's a great moment at the end of the movie where, not at the end, but almost the end, where there's that big airport battle that we all have seen. If you've seen the movie, if you haven't seen the movie,
my favorite is Ant-Man because he's just so dumb.
and we're introducing
So
more
fun.
characters. We're introducing big fights and fun, and Spider-Man and Ant-Man and Black Panther and Vision. And all the new people are there, and all the old people are there. They're fighting it head to head. And then at the very, like, with one of her last sequences of the movie, she still defends Captain America because it's his long-term friend. You know, because she makes the statement like, "I told you I'd help him find him. I didn't say I would stop him." You know, or whatever the line is.
Yeah.
You know, so we get through Civil War, and as we all know, the end of Civil War left all the people that turned against the Sokovia Accords on the run or in jail.
Correct.
Which means Steve Rogers and Natasha were on the run. And if you remember the after credit scene or whatever, Captain America shows up to break out
Hawkeye,
Falcon,
Scarlet Witch,
Ant-Man,
because they got caught.
Yeah, breaking them out of jail, and then that leads you into.
And then that's the one where I'm watching. I'm like, oh no, this is that movie with
when
Rhodey.
War Machine gets
I was like, oh.
legs broken, paralyzed, whatever. So the new movie that's in theaters,
which to me on a sub level of whatever is like the physical manifestation of what happens when your team falls apart. Something is absolutely broken.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you come back from that?
Well, and the irony was the person that hurt him was on their team.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Vision?
No, it wasn't Vision. It was they were flying the jet, and the jet scraped the back of his pack, and he lost power.
No. Somebody shot him. Vision shot at somebody else, and they moved, and they hit him, I believe. Shot at Falcon.
He shot at Falcon, and then Falcon
moved,
turned back.
He hit War Machine.
Yeah, but it was an accident. So Falcon came back. He felt bad, and that's why Tony shot him.
Yeah, because he was trying to help. But that shows that. Anyway.
Anywho.
So the new Black Widow movie, if you're super confused and already know how Black Widow's arc ends, we know that there's still Infinity War and Endgame.
Correct. We're not there yet.
But this new movie takes place directly after, or for the most part, after the events of Civil War.
Because they're on the run.
So this is her, I'm by myself on the run adventure.
Correct.
And this is probably the final outing that we're going to see Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson, I think, has even said she's kind of done with the character. She's ready to hang it up. She's also been doing this 6 movies over 10 years. You know, I like the end of the arc. Of course, would love to see her do more stuff. But so I know going into this movie, you talked about. I saw it twice. I saw it at a press screening last week, and then we saw it at the theater. We went and bought tickets as well. And I had already seen it when I asked her this question because I was preparing myself and mentally, will you be disappointed?
Right.
And I asked you what you were expecting. So what were you expecting? Try to remember what you told me.
Yes, I said I was hoping we'd see her background, some of her training, of how she became Black Widow, like that whole training. Like how'd they train these women to do that? Some of her background story. And that I was excited to see Florence Pugh. I mean, that was pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
So.
And now, without obviously, we
and hoping that Rachel Weisz wouldn't annoy me.
And we don't want to. We're not going to spoil. This is not a spoiler-heavy review.
No,
we're not going to spoil anything. But did you get everything you wanted out of the movie before we tell them our thoughts?
I think I did. I think I got enough to give me a very good, well-rounded understanding with some of the flashbacks from the other movies and dialogue, plus what we see in this one. I think we get a good, well-rounded understanding of who she is, the training, what they do, and all that stuff with the Black Widow thing. So, yes, I feel good about it.
So what are your thoughts on the movie as a whole?
I love this movie. I really do. I like it. I like the vibe of it because it's not necessarily superhero, let's save the world. It's more introspective, kind of espionage thriller maybe, where she's trying
It is very much Winter Soldier.
Yeah, she's trying to go find this one thing and take out this one bad guy. And it all has to do with the whole the widow thing.
Her past.
Her past and the...
Yeah, so they dive into, again, without spoiling anything, most stuff I'm going to talk about is in the trailer. So if you've seen the trailer, you've seen it. They clearly dive into her family aspect. Mm-hmm. You're led to believe one thing about her family, and then you find out it's not really what you think, but Correct. It is still family.
It is.
We get brought into introducing, if you're going to deal with Russia, you're going to deal with those, technically Black Natasha is technically Russian.
Correct.
Even though the accent comes and goes. Well, but she did say in an interview, when you are a spy and a double agent and all this stuff, and you start merging into America, your accent's going to change.
Well, and we see why.
Yeah.
Too. Some of the missions.
But it dives into her past stuff. But because I would have been very upset, and I don't think this is how it's connected in the comic in any way, shape, or form. But I would have been upset if we were going to be dealing with Russia and we're this far into a Marvel movie and we didn't get the Red Guardian or the Crimson Dynamo. So we at least got Red Guardian that David Harbour plays. We've all seen him in the costume in the trailer as well because he's like, he talks about it fits. And
yeah,
I was a little worried on how they were going to use him. And I can honestly say he is a blast in this movie.
He's so fun. And I want to know more about that. Like, who knew that Russia had their own super soldier?
I'm all for a whole Red Guardian movie.
Where have I been? This is the thing, though, right? He's for real.
He's a real character. Like yes, he's a real character. I showed you the picture of him.
Okay, I'm just
that action figure that he had that he sees in the movie, the little action figure.
Yes,
that's the way he looks in the comic.
Oh, okay,
that's the actual for the most part.
Man, I'm just like I need to explore more of that because that is interesting.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had a shield and everything. He was literally Captain America of Russia.
Yeah, he just seems a little,
Yeah, he's a little dunderhead, and I don't know a lot about the character from the comics, so I don't know if that character was as dunderheadish as he was in this. Mm-hmm. He's not a moron.
I loved him though. He's so good.
He's kind of the light aspect to the film, but he also sets up almost every hard to have discussion within the family.
Yes.
By something dumb he says or does.
Correct.
And then it's like very quickly devolves into this very heartfelt, creepy, painful conversations that affect all the characters. And I knew she was going to be good because she's good in everything. But I honestly didn't expect Florence Pugh to be as awesome as she was.
She was good, man. I love her.
Like her nuances with some of her dialogue stuff. There's one thing where she gets upset and she goes, oh. And
it's just interesting because she did that in.
Yeah, it's like.
So I think that's her.
Yeah.
And I think that's how
the way she probably builds her emotions.
Yeah, I'm talking about my favorite movie. Midsommar.
I like it. My favorite movie. What is it?
I've only watched it probably like 5
Which
times.
I believe, I thought I read an article that said that she got cast in this before she did anything that was really big. So it wasn't even some of these newer things we've seen.
Oh, wow.
I also read an article about her and Scarlett not really clicking initially, but the way they actually got together.
Helps. That probably helps.
What?
In the movie. Okay, sorry.
No. Shut up. The way they actually started connecting on a personal level and their characters connected was when they started doing the action sequences and started beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, that always helps.
Now they were like, I read I've read something. I think they're about to do some kind of like baking show or like, not like a TV series, but like on YouTube or something.
That's cool.
So, or making lasagnas or something. I don't know. But anyway, Rachel Weisz was actually really good.
She was actually good and didn't Okay, so
she's not as annoying as Penelope Cruz.
The Blakeys aren't super fans of Rachel Weisz. We're so sorry. I'm sure you're
she's
a wonderful
fine in the
person.
Mummy films.
She's fine. There's just something.
Because she's Mrs. Daniel Craig, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But she's good in the Mummies, and I think that's all that I
couldn't tell you anything else she's ever done.
I don't know why. Anyhow, but she was good in this, and I liked her character because it's very multi-dimensional. There's a lot more going on there than she's just their mom. There's more going on.
Well, this whole movie deals with a lot of dog come running in hot all of a sudden. This whole movie deals. Oh Jesus!
Oh! I'm getting scratched up.
I guess we have a guest on our show.
Hi.
We have a guest on our show now.
Excuse me.
Well, hello.
Hi, baby. Hi. Okay.
Stop stepping on Vader.
Okay, calm down. You want to come up here?
Sorry, that was a twist all of a sudden.
We go. There you go. Sit down. Sorry.
Get your balls off the table. It deals with a lot of those hard to discuss issues in ways that are a little easier to deal with, but they're still like dealing with the I was about to say it again. What is the word? About the
sterilization.
Sterilization. I keep wanting
because we get into the
for some reason I keep wanting to euthanize Scarlett Johansson.
Get into the whole history of the training of these girls, and find out who knew they were all called widows. Didn't know that.
Well, what's funny is I don't think they called her Black Widow at all until this movie.
Correct.
I don't ever remember them mentioning Black Widow.
Well, they do one. There's I think one thing on a folder or a screen about.
I know, but I'm talking about actually calling her. I thought they just always referred to her as Natasha
Romanoff.
But I could be wrong. But I don't honestly.
I have to go back to the scene with the guy on the computer, the little computer screen guy, where his consciousness is in the computer. He's like Romanoff,
Toby Jones.
Natasha. So we'll have to see. But anyways, so they're all widows and they're all trained, and it was interesting because you kind of get a glimpse in the trailer that, the uniform that we thought was just a cool uniform. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So.
Well, remind me after the show, I got to tell you something about the uniform.
Anyway, so we find out all about their spy training. We do have a pretty serious conversation about what it means when they sterilize these people and how men don't get it.
Yeah, because there's a line that's not a spoiler line, but he's like, gets mad and somebody's
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Don't. We're going to lose the cameras.
Oh, no, so I'm pulling her back.
Okay.
Somebody's like, what's wrong with you? And you're on your period? Which is such a guy thing to say
to somebody. That is such a snarky man thing.
There's that old stereotype of, if a woman's in a bad mood, it must be because she's...
No, it's because you put her in a bad mood.
Yeah, and then they're like, that spawns the discussion about, I can't have a period. And then we hear about a little more in depth of what they did, but in a way that's not becoming a preachy movie about that, which, because there's so many things that these women are screwed over. And
then we find out how the training of these women has changed since the time that Natasha was there, how it's evolved and how it's changed, and what's involved in that. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's pretty cray-cray. And so that's kind of the whole setup for this movie. Is she's like, no, I thought this wasn't happening anymore. Dun dun dun. Let's go fix it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much
which is connected to Budapest.
Budapest. We finally get to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, because that's been talked about since the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it's not overly exciting, the story they tell you.
But it's okay.
But it seems more real than some over the top. But it's funny because when you hear that and then you flash back to the line of when she says, this reminds me of Boobs, and he goes, we remember that very differently. Because in this one it's aliens, and all of a sudden when you hear about what actually happened, it was like, that is so not the same thing. I apologize. This dog has lost her mind all of a sudden.
Anyhow, I think it's a good movie. I like the action. I like the fighting. Florence Pugh is good. Even Rachel Weisz did some action. It was good. And I like the Russian Captain America. He was good too. Yeah, all the fighting was good.
The only issue I have with this whole movie.
There's one thing, yes.
And I can't tell you what it is because what you done with that?
No, I can't. There's nothing. Oh my gosh. Y'all are gonna take out the camera.
The only big issue I had.
She's all wrapped up in it. Hold on. We're going to lose the camera.
The biggest issue I had with the whole thing ended up being involving the Taskmaster character.
Stop.
The character is badass and works well.
Uh-oh. Did it move everything?
No, not that I saw yet.
Okay. Yes, it did. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Okay. Okay.
But
sit there. That's fine. You can sit there.
The Taskmaster character is badass in the movie.
Sorry.
Don't get me wrong. But they do twist the character a little bit and do something different that's not part of its normal mythology, if you will.
Yeah, I thought they were going a weird direction. I was like, that doesn't seem right. But then this happened, and I was like, is that right?
Well, I meant to ask you what you thought of that angle.
I mean, it's a little too convenient.
That was my issue. Was okay. They changed this character for
convenience sake.
Yeah, it's a secondary villain type character, but it's a popular one. But they seem to conveniently twist it just to fit the narrative of this story, and I didn't really like that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's my biggest issue, but it's not enough to hurt the whole movie.
Correct.
The rest of the movie, the biggest part of it has a.
Can you put her out?
Yeah, hold on.
Sorry, just get her out of here for right now. Sorry, kid. We love you, but no. It's okay. We're almost done.
Sorry, but the overall tone. Shifted back to Winter Soldier type. But the end, and I like that they waited till the end of the movie, very much like Winter Soldier does. That's when you get your big epic superhero-like thing. And it wasn't as over the top as I expected it.
Yeah, that was good.
From
That's
the trailers.
I'm saying. It's not so big. It's more relatable.
And there's plenty of over-the-top stuff that you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But from the trailers seeing those moments, I expected like full-on fights for 5 minutes on platforms.
No, there's some good stuff there.
I also would like to say I love the fact that they harken back to a scene in Avengers where she dupes Loki into information.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene similar to that in this one, but it's way more to me. I don't know if that felt the same way when you or do you even know?
I don't know. We'll talk about it. No, tell me later. And I like some of the dialogue with her and Florence Pugh because there's some funny stuff actually with them, which kind of brings us back all the way through the whole movies, and I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they touch base on some of the discussion that has been coming up more and more recently about the over-sexualization of her character back in Iron Man 2 and the skin tight. And she as an actress has dealt with a lot of crap from interviewers that seem to bring up like, they would ask her crap like, could you wear underwear in that suit? Or did this? And I remember her coming out in one interview and like, have you ever asked any of these other guys about their underwear?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked any of these guys about how much training they had to do to fit into this suit and anything about them? You don't ever ask any of them about their costumes. You only ask me
because I don't think Captain America can wear underwear in that thing, can he?
Well, and that's the point. But they're only asking her because she's always in that skin-tight, leather-looking outfit.
People are dumb.
She looks amazing, don't get me wrong, but that has nothing to do with the discussion.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so
mostly what I was honing in on was like, wow, Captain America was smaller in this movie. Now he's bigger. Same thing with Thor. Like everybody got more muscly as
got bigger and bigger because they had more trainers and more money and more time.
And so my question for her would be like, how is her physical strength and her because they have to do all this training. I'm assuming she was lifting some weights and doing some training too.
Well, I would have thought not only that, but like in this movie is the first time she had to carry the whole movie,
lean muscle,
not only as an actress but the physical aspect and all that stuff, and
that's a lot.
Also carry the weight of the character for all these movies previous, and she's older now than when she was in Iron Man 2 flipping around and whatever she did. So how much I know as somebody who's been doing martial arts for almost 40 years, and it is a toll on my body, and I'm not doing it on a movie level.
Yeah, I just think she's cool.
I'm actually kidding, but
she's cool.
I also think this is her best performance of this character so far. Obviously, she gets to shine way more than she's got to shine in other ones as the character, but I honestly think this movie's up top on for me up there with Winter Soldier. So if I had to top my top three, it would probably end up being Winter Soldier, Civil War, Black Widow.
Okay.
I think that's where I'm at now. So what's your favorite Marvel movie? We've
been talking about this. I really think Guardians of the Galaxy, which I know
is just hilarious to me.
Just because for me it's characters that I didn't necessarily know about.
Nobody knew about it.
No, I know, but like I said, walking through we go to the comic book store, like I had an awareness of Captain America exists, Thor exists, Iron Man exists. Like I knew that. So for me, coming to something completely brand new, but also a very unlikely group of people to be heroes, and each one of them are flawed. They have issues, and a lot of them are so lacking emotion, like just base emotion to get along with anybody, but yet they come together. They're holding hands to save the world. I mean, you know, to get to that level in one movie. And then my favorite character is Groot, with just 3 simple words. Like, he can like break your heart into tears.
I will say I like Groot in the movies way better than I ever liked him in the comics.
Okay.
I hated him in the comics. But I also am not a big fan of Thor from the comics. I love the Thor movies. I'm not a big fan of the majority of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I like the Jim Valentino era, which is not even the same team. So there's a lot of, like, I'm not a fan of Black Widow, the character in the comics either, but I really like her in the movie.
So then, that's number 1.
I also want to say real quick, I think Winter Soldier and this movie had the best fight choreography of any Marvel movie that's existed. Because it's more really martial arts themed, and it's not relying on CGI and wires all the time. They're there, but
I like that fight with Captain America and the kickboxer dude.
Oh, George St. Pierre?
Yeah.
Yes, because that's awesome.
Is so good. Anyhow, I think my next favorite is still Thor, the Ether, which nobody liked.
Thor, the Dark World.
Dark
I cannot
World,
remember that.
The Ethers. And then I like the very, very last movie because everyone comes together.
Oh, in
Endgame, they all work together. And we see who you think is perhaps the most selfish person do the selfless thing. You see someone who went through so much and was broken, but gets it all back together to become worthy. I mean,
there's an interesting...
And then you see the girl fight.
Yeah,
then there's a whole group of women, strong
that's
women
a moment I think is
together.
cool, but to me felt really forced. It felt like they were pushing that in there on purpose.
Yeah, a little bit.
And didn't really do anything with it, you know?
I mean, there's some others. Like, I love Black Panther.
There was one thing
I like Black Widow.
Since you brought that up, I wanted to say about there's a meme image, whatever you want to call it, meme, you know.
A meme. I like saying meme.
Somebody posted it. It was from the very first Avengers movie in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the argument of Captain America and Tony Stark, where Captain America is saying, you don't care about anything but yourself. You wouldn't sacrifice for anything but for yourself, whatever. And then it shows an image of Iron Man with the gauntlet fixing to sacrifice his life to save the world. And then it has a picture of Tony Stark saying, you know, you're nothing but a man in a suit. I mean, that serum. Without the serum, you'd be nothing. And then it's a picture of Captain America holding Thor's hammer, you know, fighting to save the world. It's like, it's a very genius evolution from that to that, and the characters of both of them and their mentalities have switched and shows who they were.
Yeah. Anyways, I like that one. That makes me cry at the very end.
Like most Marvel movies, you do need to wait to the end of the credits. Yes. I don't know why they can't do mid credits. No, we got to wait for an hour and a half to the end of the credits for the after credit scene, which it didn't go the direction I thought, but was very interesting because it's playing into, like a lot of them, into a future chapter or something.
It makes me happy with some of the characters that are there. So
and there's been a lot of talk of Florence Pugh's character taking on the mantle. There's question: is she going to become the new Black Widow? Are they going to give her a different name?
Well,
is she going to show up at all?
There are a lot of options now.
Yeah,
with
so
the Black Widow.
And it seems very much like this could possibly be Johansson passing the mantle off to Florence Pugh, which so far everything I've heard, in my personal opinion, I know your personal opinion, I'm totally fine with that.
I love her.
And everybody seems to be
I'm
praising
convinced
her.
she's the best person.
Yeah, everybody seems to be praising her and all aboard and her staying around for a while. So we'll see what happens.
There's another character that Black Widow interacts with a lot in this movie that I'd like to delve deeper into. That person, the guy.
Her friend?
Yeah. Because it's like,
I don't think that's a deep story.
But I want to know, like, who the heck is he and where did he come from? Because
England.
No, I know that. But you know, she has a very small circle of people that she would consider friends, like maybe 3 or 4. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
That throughout this whole timeline, secretly, she's had this friend.
Yeah. Well, it's the same when we find out Hawkeye had his family. So
who knows? Anyhow,
so when I went to the press screening, you might notice that we have these lovely hats, and
we got a T-shirt
that's now, right here. I just want to touch your boob.
That's now covered in dog fur.
It
says Black Widow on the back.
Button badges. They're little pins.
It's a set of 4 badges.
And then it's Black Widow bag. So I got some fun swag at a screening. So they gave us these things. Yeah, we haven't seen them. We didn't open them.
We didn't open them because we're going to give them away. Give it away now. Let's see. Oh, okay. I want this Florence Pugh button, but it's got the Black Widow symbol. It's got Black Widow, Florence Pugh, and it's got the bad guy.
Taskmaster.
Yes. There
that's
you
cool.
go.
So they gave us a little swag. Excuse me. You want to tell your theater thing before we wrap it up?
So there was an interesting family sitting next to us, which, fine. The man showed up, and he, for probably 20, 30 minutes, was just talking and talking. And I'm like, he's got to be on the phone. He had a little ear thing.
But it was on the other side of us, so you couldn't see it.
So we couldn't see it. So I was like, oh, please don't just be talking to yourself.
Now, I'll give him credit. He didn't talk during the movie. That was, well,
no.
At that moment, it wasn't during the movie.
No. This was just, he was on the phone the whole time. So I was like, all right. So then, I'm like, that's weird. So then the lady shows up. And very loud, she's like, who are you talking to? And I was like, whoa. And
Liza or somebody.
And then there was whole drama about her popcorn. The popcorn wasn't ready or the popcorn wasn't fresh. I'm going to have to go back. So fine. So then suddenly this young man shows up.
It was a dude, right?
It was a dude, I think. He looked older, but I think it was their son. And he was talking about the popcorn too. So there was obviously popcorn gate was happening down at the
and somehow they got him to deliver the popcorn.
Yeah, but we had popcorn, and I was like, "What's wrong with the popcorn?"
Well, they probably pulled that thing that you like to pull sometimes. Like, can you give me some of the fresh and not the regular?
I'm gonna wait for the fresh popcorn. So that's probably what happened. Anywho, so then they deliver them the popcorn. And then they pulled what I would do.
Oh my God! This is what I do. We've talked about this on the show
I've done this before.
And it annoys me to no end. I understand the purpose, but it's annoying.
They showed up with their giant. They pulled out their giant Ziploc bags, throw some popcorn and butter, and they're over there shaking like.
So they're on my side, not on her side.
I'm like, hey.
Yeah, she nudged me.
They're doing my thing.
Like, this was her justification that because the crazy people and weird people next to us are doing it.
It's a cool thing.
Her. So she goes like this. She's like,
they're doing my thing.
Like,
Because that's the best way, because you try to put butter on the top, it doesn't go down. You need to shake it.
Anyway.
So they were shaking it. But that wasn't the only thing. They got up. So first, she said the popcorn, then he said the popcorn. Then they both got up. They went down and came back and still were arguing about the popcorn. Then they delivered them personally some popcorn. Then they pull out their baggies and they're shaking. Which is fine. But then he was shaking it again.
He did it like 4 times in the movie.
And then he was like, He's like, oh.
Oh, he was yawning. That's what the
I don't know what it was.
He was going, he's one of these yawners. He's going, with that guy.
I don't know what was happening, but they were all very awkward. And then at the end of the movie, he gets up and walks down the stairs very awkwardly, and then he comes back.
Well, I think he had some kind of an issue.
I don't know, y'all. There was something weird happening with it. That was my weird experience. And then this one is like, this guy in front of you is not leaning the seat back.
No.
You better lean the seat back.
No. What I said was...
Yeah, you were complaining.
No, I wasn't complaining. I was saying it's
annoying. Then he's like, why would you pay for these seats if you're not going to lean back?
Well, because what happened... I did say that. my problem is when you're in the theater with reclining seats, they're designed for you to sit back. So if you don't recline, your head sits above the barrier. If you're a moderately sized human. And so all I see
everyone can be perfectly sized.
All I see is this circle dome
of this man's
that I have to look at. It's not blocking my view, but it's in my view. And I already have to struggle with my hearing, and I don't need to be distracted by his 4 hairs on his head. And so this wasn't during the movie. He ended up laying back, and it was fine. But I just sat there, I'm like, I hope he leans back. And so I said, I hope he leans back. And she goes, why? I'm like,
then it gets to the whole, why would you pay for these seats if you're not going to lean back?
If you're not going to use the recliner, why sit in a recliner seat? Go get in a regular seat.
This guy right here. Anyhow.
Anyway, moving on.
Everything went fine.
Yeah. Fine. So this week we'll talk about our, I'll do this and we'll do contests in a second.
Okay.
So we can wrap it up. This week we have a variety of things coming out. We have a movie called The Pianist. Shout Factory is doing a re-release of The Pianist with Adrian Brody.
Heartbreaking. Sorry.
Anyway, Shout Factory.
Shout.
It's also put out a collector's edition of House of Wax.
Oh, with
which
Paris
was
Hilton.
So weird to me that of all the movies, she doesn't know the name of the movie. She doesn't know who's in anything. I get this movie. I said, hey, honey, I get this House of Wax movie. She goes, the one with Paris Hilton. I'm like, what?
I know that movie.
Why, of all crap movies, that one?
I don't know, but I know that movie.
Anyway,
I saw it on the cable TV.
Snatch is getting the 4K release.
Oh, that's the one where he can't understand
When
it?
Brad Pitt's a gypsy, yes. And he's got
Lord.
Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, bunch of different people. Deep Cover looks like it's getting a Criterion Collection release, which is exciting with Larry Fishburne, I believe he was in still then, but directed by Bill Duke.
He was also Larry Fishburne in Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Boys in the Hood as well, I believe.
I'm going
that is
Pee-wee's
also a very important musical history of Deep Cover.
Oh, really? I don't know.
That song, the title track, Deep Cover, which was by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, was the first time any of us ever heard of Snoop Dogg.
Oh.
Because that's the song he teamed with Dre for that song. I believe Death Row did the whole soundtrack, but that was Snoop Dogg's very first hit.
Okay, cool.
Then there's also season 2 of Pennyworth. It's coming out, which is the show. There's a series about Alfred.
Season 1.
I know it's one of those that comes on networks that we don't have.
You're gonna have to.
So I'm hoping that it shows up on HBO Max because it's DC stuff and Warner. So I'm hoping it shows up on there.
Yeah, because I've been dying to watch that show.
Yeah. So then SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run is coming to Blu-ray and DVD. It's the one that debuted exclusively because of the pandemic on Paramount Plus. It'll be coming on. Wrath of Man with Jason Statham, who we've talked about here on this show, with Guy Ritchie. It's ironic because Guy Ritchie also did Snatch, I believe.
That is such a good movie.
And Mortal Kombat is coming out.
Mortal Kombat!
The new release of it, which I also announced that I posted on our page. There's also a new, the next chapter of the Mortal Kombat called Battle of the Realms animated feature that follows Scorpion's Revenge that you never got to watch. So now we can watch it when the new one comes out. So
cool. All right.
That's the big stuff this week.
Cool.
What do we got in the theaters and things?
So coming out to the theater. So Wednesday, it's a Wednesday release. We have something coming to Netflix called Gunpowder Milkshake.
You've seen that trailer.
I have. So it's Lena Headey. She is some sort of an assassin, and her child is left to be, I guess, raised by this criminal organization. So it looks really interesting. Got to watch that.
Karen Gillan, I believe in it, which is Nebula.
Yes, so it looks good, guys. So you need to watch that.
It's basically it's kind of a action John Wick, but with a different vibe.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
So I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Coming out Friday, nationwide, a movie called Die in a Gunfight.
Oh, we have that already.
Okay. So
that's Alexandra
Daddario.
Mm-hmm.
So we know we're watching that because somebody over here likes it.
Yeah,
okay. Also coming out is Escape Room, Tournament of Champions. I'm assuming the sequel to Escape Room.
That is correct.
So it's kind of Saw-esque. You have to get through these escape room trivia challenges, and if you don't, you die, is what I'm understanding. I never saw the first one, so we'll have to watch that. Okay. This is interesting. Space Jam: A New Legacy. So we're gonna have to watch the first Space Jam. If you don't remember that one, it was Michael Jordan in a cartoon world or something.
Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny.
There you go. Now this time it is LeBron James, and the cartoons come into our world. I guess
he goes.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Watch the trailer. It tells you.
I know, but they end up in a neutral environment where the cartoons aren't cartoons. They look 3D.
They're like CGI animation.
I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna watch it, but I don't know anything about these things. Coming to Netflix, we talked about this earlier. Fear Street Part 3, 1666. It's all about witches. I'm excited. What? Oh. This one?
Yeah.
Is it coming out? Because it says limited release.
Yeah, well, we have it. So.
Okay, we'll be talking about the movie Pig.
What's it about?
It's a truffle hunter who lives alone in the wilderness, searching for the beloved pig after the pig is kidnapped. It's Nicolas Cage, so that's why we're watching it, because he loves everything. I want to see this. It looks interesting, but we don't have the... Okay, so all these are now limited release films. Will probably come out later. Okay, that's kind of what's happening. There you go.
What's our giveaways we got going here today?
We need to give this away.
Well, that's set up something else.
I know.
Here, I'm just giving it to you.
Thank you. I was going to say we should do a little contest and give it away.
Well, we'll talk about that later. So in our giveaways, currently, just in time for the new release, we have 4K copies of Space Jam, the original, debuting on 4K. We also have a sequel that nobody knew was happening called The House Next Door, Meet the Blacks 2.
Yeah.
But did you ever see Meet the Blacks?
No.
Meet the Blacks is a Purge parody.
Oh, I need to watch that.
But it's
all about
Omar Epps and
oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny. I
funny.
just bought it because I didn't have it, and I'm supposed to get the new one so I can rewatch it. So we'll watch them both.
Okay.
When it's time for that.
Fine.
Then we have copies of that given away. Then we have copies of Wrath of Man to give away, as well as still a few copies of Godzilla vs. Kong. The upcoming Oh, we still got the anniversary 4K editions of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and lastly, the new Mortal Kombat. We got copies of that to give away as well.
There you go.
So
Free
go to our
stuff.
website, sign in, answer the questions, shoot me an email, stop writing your answers on freaking Facebook and everything else. Shoot the email, follow the instructions.
Right.
People. You all went to school. Follow the instructions.
All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget to go find us on the Twitter and the Instagram. Just go look for Hollywood Matrimony. And don't forget to check out the website, hollywoodmatrimony.com.
I thought you said Hollywood Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Well, thanks.
We'll be back next Friday. Where's it? Sunday. For a whole new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live right here, right now.
Goodbye.
Bye.